This is not expected to be a good year on the farm. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is forecasting a 25% downturn in farm profits, but some farmers in Iowa have put something new in the ground to offset some of those losses. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's Janet Shamlian has a look at their powerful idea.
For Avi Haupt, this is a window of opportunity.
I have my very own wind direction machine out there.
In fact, she has 3 wind turbines on her 160-acre farm in central Iowa. As farmers ready their fields, there's a new cash crop working the land year-round. Wind turbines.
How much money do the turbines bring in each year?
My payment is $35,000 this year, and it keeps going up with inflation.
That's made the difference between keeping the family farm and losing it for struggling farmers, as agriculture becomes more unstable due to climate change.
How many days is it windy out here?
Practically every day, I would say.
When her husband Wallace died a decade ago, farm debts lived on.
How much debt did you have?
I had $350,000.
And now you have?
$67,000.
How did you get that paid off?
With my wind turbine money.
Each turbine takes up less than an acre, leaving plenty of farmable land.
2 decades ago, there were only a few hundred wind turbines in Iowa. Now there are more than 6,000 in this state, and they turn out about 60% of the state's energy.
U.S. wind energy, clean and renewable, avoids carbon emissions equivalent to taking 73 million cars off the road. Nationwide, turbines power about 10% of the U.S. electric grid. You might call attorney Kathy Law the conduit for Iowa wind. The daughter and wife of farmers, she's helped place almost half the state's turbines.
For my farm background, I think I can talk their talk and have conversations with the landowners that are interested in having wind turbines on their properties.
Both women have fielded complaints from critics who say the turbines are a threat to wildlife, ruin the view, and that this is too noisy.
What do you say to the naysayers?
Nobody's requiring them to put that on their farms or on their land. We want to be able to put turbines on our land and receive those benefits.
They need to be perfect.
Avi Haupt is still old-fashioned in some ways. But on power, the 75-year-old is progressive.
I look at it as progress. I think we can't stand in the way of progress.
The vista has changed from decades ago, a view she says suits her.
I need to give up 1 or 2 acres of my land so that I can generate a commodity that we all use every day, and we all want to use more of it every day. So I'm happy to be able to be a part of that generation.
Perspective, focused on the future. For Eye on America, I'm Janet Shamlian in Wellsburg, Iowa.
Texas is not only the top oil and gas producing state in the country, it's also among the nation's top solar energy producers. The solar farm boom in the Lone Star State has created thousands of jobs and unique opportunities. Here's Janet Shamlian with tonight's Eye on America.
This is the best thing I've ever done.
In a dusty Texas field, Chad Rain surveys his new crop. Sheep.
Did you ever think this would be your industry?
Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would be a shepherd.
The Rains family had farmed cotton for generations until 2 years ago, when they gave it up for good.
When did it hit you had to get out of cotton?
After about 3 or 4 years of just not making any progress, just not even breaking even every year. I mean, we were losing money and that debt was rolling over, adding to it every year. So I had to look at doing something different. I had to think outside the box.
So he became part of a growing trend, abandoning traditional farming for what's called solar grazing, renting out sheep as lawnmowers for solar farms like this one near Waco. It's one of the largest in the U.S., with more than 1 million panels, and owned by NL North America. Adam Satirakopoulos runs the site.
The sheep work when it's raining, the sheep work when it's muddy, sheep work at night.
These are your money makers.
They are.
The sheep do most of the work, keeping vegetation away from the panels, while their owners earn steady paychecks.
So this is saving the solar company a lot of money.
Yes.
And it's making you a couple of dollars.
It is. It's a good living.
Farming has always been a gamble, but the odds have gotten worse. A 2022 USDA report found more than half of small and mid-sized farms in the U.S. operated at or near a loss.
The small farmers going away. It's the big companies, the bigger farmers are the ones that can farm a little bit better based on the economies of scale.
Between low prices and small yields, Rain says if he'd grown cotton, he would have lost almost $200,000 last year. Instead, he cleared a profit of close to $300,000, grazing 6,000 sheep across 20,000 acres. A growing business he can eventually pass on to his sons.
This is sustainable?
Absolutely. One is a college graduate, one is in college, and when he graduates, he's going to come to the farm as well. And there's plenty of work for all of us.
Amid a changing landscape, making ends meet, while still staying rooted in the farmland. For Eye on America, I'm Janet Shamlian in Rysel, Texas.
Tonight's Eye on America takes us to the rolling hills and fertile valleys of western Montana. Cattle ranchers have been working the land there for nearly 170 years, and they well know the risks and costs of allowing cattle to overgraze their pastures. Jolene Kent paid a visit to one of the region's oldest ranches, one deeply ingrained in conservation.
This is all Mannix Ranch.
That's right.
In Montana's Blackfoot Valley, Cole Mannix and his family are raising 1,200 head of cattle on 50,000 acres. The Mannix family has been working this land for 143 years, but big food, big agriculture, and extreme weather are threatening the next generation.
Almost everything about our food system is terminal.
Are we already at that moment where the land is at risk of not allowing us to produce food?
Yeah, I think that moment is in sight.
Need to scramble, right, to figure out what this morning's plans are.
Mannix and his family say long-term survival means challenging the existing food system.
We're going to build a little model that makes the old one obsolete. Then that model can be replicated across the country.
So rather than shipping all of its cattle to large industrial meat packers, Mannix Ranch is processing a third of its livestock locally and selling directly to consumers.
Who's the new fellow who's working Expo?
To deliver beef to your table, Mannix co-founded Old Salt Co-op, partnering with 5 ranches committed to sustainable land management. They sell their beef collectively at their local restaurants, butcher shop, and online.
Old Salt Co-op is a bright spot that does justice to land and to all of the employees along the supply chain and to our investors and to our customers.
Food prices are going up. Can you protect the land and also provide meat that is affordable?
Yes, you can.
We need to get back to where we raise our food locally, package it in our communities to be eaten by our neighbors. That's called food security.
Walter Schweitzer, president of the Montana Farmers Union, likes what he sees.
Do you believe that what is being built here is the model for the future?
I think so. It's where we should have been.
These are grasses that are native to the landscape.
The co-op ranchers say regenerative ranching and working with soil rather than against it is vital.
Regenerative ranching is the use of livestock to impact an ecosystem of plants and then to let it rest.
Mannix says resting parcels of land for up to 2 years keeps the soil fertile and resilient, especially in the face of extreme weather.
One of our Old Salt member ranches, in the driest years of its ranch's history, have been able to double the grass production. That is a tremendous ecological win.
2 raw ribeyes, 1 with a mushroom.
We have to do this. It's an existential necessity, and it's a legacy we want to leave our kids with.
The future of feeding the nation could ride on it. For Eye on America, I'm Jolene Kent in Helmville, Montana.
Our Eye on America tonight examines one of the greatest challenges facing the American family farm, aging. The average age of a farmer is now 58, with a third over 65. CBS's Meg Oliver looks at an innovative program to cultivate the next generation of American farmers.
On an acre of land in Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Christina Couch is a one-woman force.
What are you growing here?
These are sugar snap peas.
And how tall will they get?
About 6+ feet.
Months of prepping, planting, and nurturing 7 days a week have turned her brown field into tidy rows of lush vegetables and herbs.
The last time we were here, they were all the way down to the ground. Now they're up to our shoulders.
Couch, a former cook, is now a newly minted farmer.
We're growing a lot of specialty varieties, so when you go to a restaurant, you see a fancy, colorful beet or a beautiful garnish or a delicate herb.
At 26 years old, she's more than 3 decades younger than the average farmer in the U.S.
Nearly half of the nation's farms are owned by farmers 65 or older, making them the oldest workforce in the country. Why is it so hard to break into farming?
Well, many people are not raised on a farm or don't.
Professor and third-generation farmer Bill Lubeck is Couch's mentor and actively recruiting the next generation at the Beginner Farmer Training Program at Rutgers University in New Jersey.
We absolutely have to have a next generation of farmers to produce food for us.
The 3-phase program begins with online classes covering farming basics, followed by hands-on training. Select students develop a farm business plan and put it into action. They can rent land from the program with access to equipment and agricultural experts.
The radiation from the sun will break that down. And we are attracting a very diverse group of people into our program. 60% are women, almost that many percentage are minorities.
And you just pluck it right off.
Novices like Couch, many without a farm background, are seeking customers in a non-traditional route.
What does your generation bring to farming?
We're just going about farming a bit differently, a little bit against the grain, and leveraging things like social media, like fundraising.
Just let the ground get nice and moist.
And just building communities that people are attracted to, want to support young farmers.
Hola. On this day, greens that were picked by Couch just hours earlier were delivered to Jasper Stone Restaurant.
This is Little Gem lettuce.
This is where she used to work as a line cook and realized her dream of farming.
I just had this light bulb moment that I could grow this and help fill the gap so that we don't have to get produce from so far away to put on the tables at restaurants.
Now she's proud to have her locally grown produce turned into delicious salads.
It is the hardest job I've ever had. It is really, really difficult. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Cultivating tomorrow's food supply with growing satisfaction. For Eye on America, I'm Meg Oliver in Cream Ridge, New Jersey.
The Department of Health and Human Services has canceled a contract with Moderna to develop a bird flu vaccine for humans. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a vaccine skeptic.
So far, the only people to come down with bird flu got it from animals. Dr. John LaPook tells us research is underway to keep the flu from mutating into a form that could spread person to person.
We went to a dairy farm in rural Pennsylvania to see how microbiologist Scott Hensley and his University of Pennsylvania team are trying to stay a step ahead of bird flu.
A scenario may play out where the risk is very low, and boom, all of a sudden we have a pandemic.
Bird flu has torn across dairy farms across the country, infecting 70 humans so far. While there's no evidence it is spreading person to person, that could change as the virus circulates and mutates.
And if that mutation would arise, then we fear the virus might be able to transmit human to human.
Through the air.
Through the air, yeah. That's the fear.
Hensley says slowing the spread of bird flu in cows could help lower the odds of that kind of pandemic-causing mutation. So they designed an experimental messenger RNA vaccine, vaccinated 2 cows, and waited to see if it created an immune response. We were in the lab with Hensley to see if samples from the vaccinated cows contained antibodies against bird flu. If they did, these wells would turn blue.
Yeah, so you can see the blue in these wells here.
So there's antibody in the milk.
So that means the vaccine worked. So it worked. It worked.
The next step was to ship the vaccinated cows to a biosecure USDA facility in Ames, Iowa, where they were intentionally exposed to bird flu. Aside from a brief, mild drop in milk production, cows receiving the vaccine stayed healthy. In contrast, the unvaccinated cows produced 75% less milk than usual, developed fever, and were less active.
If we don't develop a vaccine pathway in animals, every year we'll be trying to stamp out the virus.
Dr. Andrew Hoffman is dean of the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine.
Maybe there won't be a need for the vaccine, but the point of vaccine development isn't to wait until you absolutely need it right now with your hair on fire. The point is to have that ready to go. And we want to be ready to go.
So, Dr. LaPook, can they use that vaccine on people if necessary?
You know, I just spoke a few minutes ago to Scott Hensley, who's the researcher who headed up this research, and he said, if this vaccine works in cows, a vaccine that's essentially the same could also be tried in humans. To be clear, that's not what he and his team are doing.
And it's not the normal way of doing things. Dean Hoffman said you don't want to wait till your hair's on fire to come up with a vaccine. So how does that square with this decision made today?
Well, we reached out to HHS, and they said they had real safety considerations and concerns about the whole messenger RNA technology used to make the vaccine. Now, remember that this is the same technology that during the pandemic is estimated to have saved hundreds of thousands of lives in the United States and millions across the world. Now, it's very important to be concerned about safety, but I would think this is a perfect opportunity for this open transparency. Don't just say, you know, here's what we're going to do. I think a lot of us, me included, are interested in saying, what's the thinking behind that? Who had input? What were the pros? What were the cons? Do a deep dive. We can understand it. We want to hear the details, not just say, here's what we've decided.
Yeah, show your work. Dr. LaPook, thank you.
We end in Colorado, where clean energy and agriculture are growing side by side. In tonight's Weekend Journal, CBS's Dylan Thomas shows us how many solar farms are keeping the grass mowed.
In the small farming town of LaSalle, 75 new residents are moving in for the summer. But this isn't the typical farm this flock of sheep is used to. This is a 5-megawatt solar farm. And the sheep
will be our vegetation management providers doing lamb-scaping.
Pivot Energy owns the solar panels, nearly 12,000 of them on 29 acres of land owned by Vicki Williams' partner.
It's exciting.
Farmer Tom Brown.
Okay.
And his sons own the sheep.
I'm really blessed to have them be able to go to work with me every day.
The snowball goat.
The boys care for their goat, while the flock is released onto the solar farm.
I just find it all fascinating.
Watching from her home.
It was amazing. Didn't you think how quickly they just took off and bounded off into their new home?
The work isn't easy.
Not a clean job, is it?
No, not today.
But it's an opportunity these farmers simply can't pass on. For the first time, Brown can have his sheep near home.
Up until this year, we've been running sheep in Wyoming.
I am forever grateful to have opportunities like this.
Pivot Energy's Angela Burke says Pivot plans to have sheep grazing on 98% of their solar farms, nearly eliminating the need for mowing.
We're seeing a savings of about 10 to 15% per site to utilize sheep grazing rather than doing mowing. So this is really like a business imperative decision for us.
So instead of like bringing feed to the farm to feed them, we take the sheep to the feed.
Depending on how fast the vegetation grows, the flock may grow too.
They put the panels higher on this site to be able to graze underneath them, so it's more sheep friendly. And then also the vegetation here is perfect for the sheep.
This solar farm is brand new.
Kona, come.
The sheep are guided to graze the areas least disturbed by construction. The landowner profits from leasing the property. The farmer profits from having land for the flock to graze. And Pivot creates enough energy to power 600 homes a year.
Kind of a win-win for everybody, I think.
Dylan Thomas, CBS News, LaSalle, Colorado.